So lots happening. We spoke about obviously your use cases, which is great. Do you want to kind of walk us through the dashboard? Uh, I know there's you recently Eleven Labs also launched like your like a workflow agent builder
Yes.
of sorts, right? So lovely. I mean, I think a lot of people have heard of Eleven Labs. Maybe they've not seen the inner workings. So if you can kind of show us under the hood.
Sounds good. Let me share my screen and walk you through this, right? And it's actually good you brought this up, right? So, because if you look at where all we sort of add value, one is media, which we discussed extensively. And I think the other really exciting opportunity is conversational AI. And there, I think we're doing a bunch of things around agents, which is worth talking about.
Hmm.
You're also an agentic company in that sense.
Yeah.
And so I think this could be an area we could spend some time brainstorming on,
For
right?
sure.
But at a core level, this is sort of what our user interface looks like.
Is it possible to zoom into certain parts?
Sure. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is our basic sort of hero product, which is text to speech. So if you see, I've got some content here which I have copy pasted from your blog, Anirudh, a great blog, by the way. Anyone who's listening, you should check out the Liza blog. Now, at a very simplistic level, what you do over here is you put in some text and then you choose your voice, right?
Quick
And
question, Sid. How many credits do I get when I log in as a free account?
when you log in as a free account, you essentially get about 10 minutes worth of content. That's the way to think about that. And
Okay.
then that's sort of scales by plan.
And that 10 minutes would be in terms of characters, still approximately 5,000 characters. Is it? Like your context window is 5,000 characters.
Yeah. So no, it depends on the workflow. So that's here. That's here. And then if you sort of look at, we've got other workflows, which I will show you, like projects, which support significantly longer workflows with many more fine-grained features, right? So at a very simplistic level, you go in here,
Yeah.
you choose a voice. We'll go into how you choose the voices later. And as simple as generate a voice. So, here's a voice I've selected for Liza. It's Jenna. It's warm and articulate like the company that you are. So let's hear it.
Sure.
Have you ever wondered how LLMs have evolved from being simple chatbots to nearly autonomous agents? Today, LLMs can do more than just respond to queries.
Nice.
So that's a
Okay.
pretty natural voice, right? Now, that sits on the back of our most lifelike and emotionally rich model, which is multilingual V2. We've also got other models like Turbo, which are optimized for conversational AI, right? Where you sacrifice some of the richness for speed and a more
Hmm.
natural conversation.
Were those the earlier models that were launched?
No, in fact, some of these are new models. In fact, just yesterday we launched our fastest model yet, which we call our Flash model. So we've got a Flash 2 and a Flash 2.5.
Okay.
That will give you 75 milliseconds latency. It's the fastest model in this with the best quality in this sort of category,
That's
right?
awesome.
So we've got to do both, right? We've got to do super rich models and we've got to do super fast models because it really depends on the application, right? So once you got the thing that you can do over here is you can also play around a lot with this. So for example, you just heard a sample of Jenna reading out your blog. Now I'm going to reduce the stability. And what stability does is it sort of makes the emotional range wider, right? Subtly. So let's see if you can hear the difference here.
Have you ever wondered how LLMs have evolved from being simple chatbots to nearly autonomous agents?
So you can hear a little more inflection at the end, at the tail end of the voice, and so forth, so on, right?
Got it.
So you can sort of use this to sort of really configure based on a lot of settings. How do you sculpt the perfect voice for your
Yeah.
application? Now, the other
For
thing you can do is use voice changer, where instead of a text input, you can give a voice input, and the rest plays out very similarly, right? So you're going to ask me something, Ani?
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say under text to speech, if you can just go back, you also had a couple of, in terms of similarity and style exaggeration.
Yeah.
Just at a high level, if you could talk about that as well.
Absolutely. So, by the way, we've got a lot of documentation around this for anybody who wants this. But what happens is, one, you go and you have a certain voice. Now, you can sort of say how much do you want to sort of abstract that voice out, right? Do you want it to be based on that voice, or do you want to be exactly that voice? And that sort
Hmm.
of gives you that slider here.
Okay, interesting. Hmm.
And then you've got something here which is style exaggeration. Now, what style exaggeration does is, not just in terms of the voice or its characteristics, but even the peculiarities or the mannerisms of those voices.
Interesting.
It sort of grabs that and it sort of highlights that. Now, sometimes you don't want any highlighting of those things, and sometimes maybe you want something. You've got a very specific character where those things actually define that, right? So you can also do that.
Interesting. Okay. Nice.
Now, you sort of see our voice library here. Now, when you look at voices, there are multiple ways you could get voices. So the first thing you could actually do is you could go to our default library. And here we've got a bunch of voices that we ourselves have licensed for extremely long periods of times, many of them at 11 years, go figure. And you can use any of these voices. But the second thing that we have actually done over here is we have gone and created a marketplace for voices.
Makes
So you
sense.
could actually go here. You could choose a language. So, let's stay with English for now. You could choose a particular accent. So let me say I choose Indian, and you could choose a style, and you'll start seeing voices that fit that.
That's
And
good.
any user in the world who has some basic access to our platform can start cloning and putting their voices into this and create a revenue model.
Yeah.
Now we've got a range which in the flow you will see, but they get to set their own price and usage of this, through this voice marketplace. About a month or so back, we actually crossed about $1 million in voice actor payouts.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so it's a big milestone for us, and
Yeah.
it sort of talks about the potential of what this could be, right?
Could kind of like Spotify for artists, and then you're paying out per. How much is the payout, like, for example, with Spotify, it's what I think $4.0004 a play for an artist. What's the, like, how the payouts, how do they look like? Like, if
It's
is it possible to actually like make money as an artist as like a side hustle, if they
it you absolutely can. So I think, see, the characteristic. So okay, everything sort of becomes some version of a percentage of what we earn. So if you sort of look at our per minute costs, you might see them starting at maybe upwards of 50, 60 seconds of minute of content. And at enterprise, it sort of starts at about 10 cents a minute of content and then reduces, right, based on volume. Now, so within that, on the, that's what the customers pay, right? Some portion is allocated towards voice actors, and depending on how long, what all use cases they enable this for, they could sort of earn more or less in terms of that share. And then the price point for their voice, actually, that's in their hands. So they sort of set that. And then you can sort of see that in the interface if you choose to engage with the voice. So that's how we've set this up.
I was just thinking while you were saying this might be interesting for you and for me to create voice and place it here, like Bangalore boys voice, or like Bangalore boys that lived abroad and came back. Like, I don't know, with that specificity you could have. Like right now, it's
No,
broad.
you could do that. So any particular voice that you pick up, right? It's up to
My
you to
voice.
sort of put down the attributes. And now we will have a limited hierarchy, but by providing the information, if someone's looking for that very specifically, you absolutely can find it. And we're seeing a lot of this sort of play out where we've got partners who are actually working with voice artists, unlocking new opportunities for them.
Nice.
Again, you're a voice artist. That's the same problem. You've got 24 hours in a day, and you're only in one place at a time.
Yeah.
This way, you're in multiple studios all around the world. You could have multiple different styles and productions happening simultaneously.
Yes.
We've got, I see Monica Sogam over here. She might have 3 to 5 voices with us in that sense, right? And like this, you've got many actors who are doing that because, they see the opportunity, right?
That's crazy. So I feel like I mean, you've been in the content space, Sid, and there's so much content that's already been created in the last 15 years. And now we're seeing another explosion with generated content. Finally, it's going to come down to, I mean, your expenses are going to be around storage, around compute. What's all this data like? I mean, maybe I don't understand it, but all this data is finally sitting on Eleven Labs, right?
So,
Or hosting,
okay.
right? And like, I'm assuming that also starts becoming expensive over a period of time, right?
Of course, I think if you look at the AI category, it's probably the highest capex tech industry that we have seen in recent times, right? So
Yeah.
yes, it's definitely not a cheap business, but we found a way to have a real business model. So I think what our founders have done very well is to set ourselves up in a way where we're able to add and prove value to our customers. B, we're able to have a legitimate business model so that we can also scale,
Right.
right? So it's a very scalable business because of the breadth And just that foundationally, they've done a few things right. Another couple of interesting things here that I thought I might point you to is, we talked about voice cloning, right? But we've also got something very interesting here called, you talked about generative content. Well, you can generate your own custom voices. So you could actually tell us, hey, this is the kind of voice I want. And based on that, it could be an imaginary character, it could be a real person. You could go really deep and you'll get a bunch of samples. And, it's across all of this that I think that you will find infinite choices. And it's because of infinite choices that I think it's worth talking about agents. Because if you look at the future and you hear what a lot of people who are far smarter than I are saying, and we're entering that world, a world of billions of people, infinite agents, well, maybe they need infinite voices. And that's an area where I think 11 Labs, can actually do a lot.
For sure. So tell us about agents. I mean, is this the same agent builder platform as part of the dashboard?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So already till we launched this product about a month or so back, we were already sort of the default voice for anybody building agents. And we've seen phenomenal outcomes with that. So, we've got partners like Elise AI, where close to 90% of their calls are fully handled by AI agents. We are seeing, with partners like Gale, that they're having 60% increase in efficiency by deploying our voices, right? So really voice is becoming that point of success or failure, right?
Sure.
But one of the things that we realized was, in this world, the simpler you make it and the more choice you give and the more faster you democratize it, I think there is a lot of value to be unlocked. So we've created this framework. It's an orchestration framework to build agents, and it's a very simple process. So what you go here is, just an example. You go here, you create an agent. So let's just call this test, right? Now you could start with the template, but just for the purposes of this, let's go in and have a math tutor agent, right? So I'm going to create an agent quickly. Now, just through this visual interface, you can choose the language, all of the languages we support. You can give it a system prompt. You can define its personality. You can give it purpose. You can also define the bounds. You can tell it what behavior is okay, not okay, and so forth, so on in natural language. And I think here's the really interesting thing. You can bring in the bundled LLMs here, all the big LLMs, of course, bundled, or you can bring in your own custom implementation of an LLM, right? Now, so it's really, you get to sort of pick the size that fits you, right? Now, once you do that, you can sort of go here, provide a knowledge base very easily through a file, through a URL, through text, or even sort of hit us live. Has a lot of other functionality that obviously built in, but I also want to throw in that as simple as that, you could go in and choose these voices, the perfect voice for your purpose. And we know it matters. We know it significantly matters.
Right.
And once you sort of do that, in a few minutes, you click on Test AI Agent and you're done, right? So we could actually trial this out if you'd like. So for example, here's a news agent that I have, just as an example. So, let's try this out. I'm going to test this AI agent.
Hi. What would you like to know about today's editorial?
Hey, what's on the news today?
Here are the top stories today. First, the conflict in the Middle East continues to escalate,
Wait,
with ongoing
stop.
clashes
Are
reported.
you telling me there is still a conflict in the Middle East?
Yes, conflicts in the Middle East have been ongoing for many years and often involve.
Very interesting.
So if you look at what we're doing here, I think there are 3 to 4 things very interesting. One is just orchestrating it seamlessly, right? You saw the interruptions, the turn taking, the naturalness of the conversation, all of that. I think the second thing is just the power of choice, right? Because LLM of your choice, voice of your choice, function calling of your choice. But the ease of deployment, literally in 5 minutes, if you need. Not everybody needs the most sophisticated agent. While that power is there here, but you're a restaurant, you want a simple call booking agent. In 5 minutes, you literally have that ready. Connect that to your telephony, you're done. Go to your website, you come here, you copy paste a simple piece of code, you're done, right? We think there's a lot that can happen here, not just in customer support, but in experiences, in personifying IP to bring characters to life. So I think the range of possibilities are very exciting.
That's actually pretty cool. I mean, also it looks very no code. So I guess I mean, anybody could build an agent, which is nice.
Exactly.
Uh, in terms of tooling, what like it would be really amazing. I was bringing this up with the team yesterday, where you have these agent builders, but I wanted to sit within existing tools, right? So I want to sit within a Gmail where an email comes, I'm like, I respond. I don't have to type anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, how is there tooling integration today? What kind of tooling integration is possible?
Got it. So the way we have set this up today, right? I think this needs a little bit of coding today, where we do support it, and there are one or two steps to sort of get there with a few applications with some of them direct. But you can do that, right? And you can have integrations with your calendar. You can have this go and do this action after that, right? So this does need some developmental resource behind it. However, we also do have it in the roadmap to start integrating some of the more common platforms. So I think as you look into next year, just going deeper into some of these things, you'll see a lot of output from us there.
Nice. This is great. Thank you. Knowledge base tools, secrets. So, what is secrets?
So what you can actually do over here is you can securely store a value that the tools can actually use, right? So let's for example think of a context, right? Like you are trying to do some authentication, you have some specific credentials, right? So you're using this in a way to sort of pass something very specific into that,
Okay.
and so we support that. We've got other features here. So, for example, you can go in and have evaluation criteria. You can do data collection. So you don't just get a dump of transcripts, but you also know, hey, what are all the events that have happened, and also tell me largely what is the sentiment of this. Were they happy? What are the best moments? And you can create a structured version that you can sort of export across billions of interactions.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not a dump that you figure out later. You can sort of set this up right from scratch.
So actually, let's say if I'm running a team, I could potentially get the team to upload the deck, upload performance documents, info, and then literally be like, have this upload in the agent, and then ask the agent, hey, how did we do this week? Right. So we're essentially taking the whole ChatGPT experience into voice with your agent builder, with tooling kicked in, which automates workflows.
Exactly, right. So let's say you love OpenAI and you think, Foro is the perfect model for you. Fantastic. It's your choice. And maybe Foro works great for these three agents you want to do, but for the fourth agent, maybe you want Flash, right? First of all, you get that choice. Now, once you sort of do that, again, I think the three things to really make this work are, A, the orchestration has to be great. Okay. So that's very difficult to do. But number two, it's about flexibility, right? Most of these platforms give you a few voices.
Right.
Here you have, as I said before, almost infinite range of voices. And that actually gives you the ability to do a lot of very interesting things, right? And then you start bringing in all the key workflows, which, a vertical or an enterprise or so forth, so on need. And you put that together, now you can unlock value.
Is the like we have an agent builder platform that we launched, and we are actually thinking about, I think we'll mostly have a per person, like a per seat pricing with usage. I mean, we're still experimenting, but I'm assuming currently your pricing is set up as $5 a month. Like how would I start using the builder, and what would that look like in terms of pricing, just at a high level?
Sure. So let's say we go here, right? For example, you can actually see the rate at which your credits are billed a month, right? So the way our plans work, and let me actually show you this.
Rate of 500 credits per minute. Okay.
Yes, right. So the way this actually works is it's essentially you buy a bunch of credits on 11 Labs. Now, if you buy a $5 plan, your monthly expense is limited, but your the cost per credit or 1,000 credits is a lot higher, right? And then you burn credits at a certain rate. So if you're doing text to voice with the multilingual, it's probably 1,000 a minute.
Yeah.
Right. Using Turbo, it's half of that, and this is the Turbo model, so it's half of that. And then you add in the LLM cost, right? So it's LLM cost plus our
So
cost.
I'm connecting my API key directly to the LLM, or that's on you?
You can do that. So what you can do over here, for example, when we go back here is when you go back to the LLM choice. Sorry, where was that here? You can actually go here, choose a custom LLM.
So that would be on the custom. But if I'm using OpenAI, that cost of using OpenAI is coming from 11 Labs.
No, that will sort of come in on top, right? For a limited period of time, what we did was, we sort of absorbed that while we were in beta.
Okay.
Now it will be the 11 Labs cost, the credit cost you see there, plus the LLM cost. So both of that will sort of be presented.
Okay. Sweet. This is helpful. Voice usage wise, are you seeing any use case around like a website chat agent where people they want to ask questions about a company? What are some of the use cases you're seeing more on a B2C level?
Sure. So if you think about that, right? I think first is just classic customer support. There isn't a single CX head today who's not trying to figure this out.
Yeah, for sure.
There isn't one, right? And we have got certain pilots live right now where we're seeing people trying out 20, 30, 40% of their simple customer support workloads live, and it's working. And what's interesting is some of their customer support scores, their CSATs, they are in some cases exceeding human agents as well, because it's always available, it's always consistent, it's always pleasant, it's always patient, all of that, right? So we're actually, it's amazing. So we're seeing that, right? Now you can project that a little forward, right? Because, support is defend my business, right? But get me business, right? What does that look like? I think that's a very interesting piece. For me, one of the areas I'm very excited about is I think the personification of any IP. So what do I mean by that? You're a website. How do I bring that to life? That's why I showed you the news agent. Sorry. You look at the news agent, right? Now, what if you had your iconic reporter on your news website telling you the news in their style, in only their way, okay? Or, you're watching a cricket match and in the intermission, you immediately hit a button and you're having a conversation with the most famous cricketers or cricket analysts to have a conversation about the game and have some in-depth insights into that. Or, you have an educator who's personalized to you and your material and sort of teaching you in a way that's bespoke to you. So it's not just curriculum, but the pedagogy, the style is bespoke to you, right?
That's amazing.
So I think these immersive digital experiences, I'm very excited to see what that will play out, right? And you're going to see that on the brand side. We're already seeing brands look at scaled personalization.
Yeah.
But the personalization is one way. The natural evolution is the personalization is two way, right? So I take my brand ambassador, I digitize them, I send them to you so that what you, Anirudh, are experiencing is different from me, and it's not unidirectional. Now it's bidirectional, right? So that's already starting to play out.
Personalization, which I think is cool.
Yeah. So I think these are a bunch of categories that I am very excited about, and we've got some very interesting use cases and conversations happening there.
Nice.